Hey y'all, welcome back to the ranch. I'm Jared Paul, and today I'm going to be getting to a river birch forest planting that has a few Thuja occidentalis in there as well. I believe everything needs a little prune, and there were some either black aphids or a Japanese beetle of some variety eating the leaves. It just makes it look nasty. I really don't think it was nothing more than like a defoliation though. So, anyways, I've got that rectified, and we're gonna take a look and get it beautified. But real quick, I wanted to show you. Laura's mom is a fine artist, so we had given her some nice rocks and some pictures from our travels, and asked her to paint us some landscapes for my plantings. And so this one is a nice little forest and pond scene. Love that one. And then she did our little chicken Smith. And this is our duck Boom Boom. And then the best one, my favorite. I mean, look at that shading. It's pretty incredible. This is Falls Bridge, which is at Lover's Leap State Park. And that's where Laura and I got married, right in the center of that bridge. It was awesome. So what we're going to do is get to that river birch planting. But I just want to show you those rocks real quick because it's pretty cool. And another great idea maybe for you guys to try or have your kids do if you got them home doing homeschool and stuff like that. Whatever. I'm just spitballing ideas. I'm full of them. So that's what's coming up on today's episode of Jarhead Bonsai. All right, y'all. So earlier I went over to the state park, and there is a tremendous boulder near the entrance that I always admire. It's nice, thick, and lush moss. And so I just took an iota of it. I'm telling you, this thing's huge, and it's thick and lush and amazing. So I'm pretty sure that it'll grow back so I don't really disturb that little ecosystem. But I needed it from there because the moss around here is decent, but I don't have much success with it. And I really would like to do a pretty landscape floor, or like show a little trail through my planting today, and just like one up it, level up. I got the trees to survive. It's a couple years now. It's time to take it to the next level. So yeah, I'm going to be using this for that. I just put it in the trunk of the Jeep, and then when I got home I threw it in the sink and soaked it down, and I've continued to wet it until I'm ready to use it in the planting. So that's what's coming up next. All right, so last time I showed you this planting. Well, I might have showed it in an update, but when I actually showed it in a video, it had lost all of its leaves. I let it dry up. Something happened, and it looked rough. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hope it comes back. And as you see, it did come back nicely. So the setup of this is like a Connecticut landscape where there's a lot, like a river birch grove. So I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 river birch in here. There is something growing back here. I don't know if it's a root from one of these, or I don't know, a dormant seed popped up. And then there are 3 Thuja occidentalis, all grown from seed. Or actually, these were considered American arborvitae. I don't know if that's a specific genus other than Thuja occidentalis, but these are American arborvitae, so excuse me, grown from seed. So I wanted these to be like a nice full like bush, so there's some lower foliage that I could weave a little path this way and then up through the middle, so as if I was walking down a trail, like on a little Connecticut trail during the summer. So that's what we're gonna do today. All right, y'all. So I got sidetracked there because my daughter ran up in her leotard. She's in the middle of ballet class in her dance studio, and the Wi-Fi wasn't working. So of course, let's run, and Daddy has nothing else going on. So I came to the rescue and unplugged and plugged back in the Google Nest, and it worked. been a lot of extra parenting during this pandemic, don't you think? I mean, Franny was living in New York City in her own apartment. We would do like FaceTime Ubers and, you know, check-ins and stuff like that. And now it's like 24/7. All right, so I want these to be bushy, so I don't think I'll remove the lower stuff, but I will shorten these branches that are existing. And I'll just take out the dominant vertical growth. I'm leaving a little room because I already see there's a node here swelling and I don't want to damage it by cutting too close to that line. And I don't know specifically to the Thuja, but typically you want leave a little room for dieback. There's this one back here growing into the Birch's trunk. You know, maybe someday I make it look 100% realistic where there's wild growth that's not growing ideally or ornamentally like, you know, a lot of bonsai or prune. But for now, I'm going to just try to develop some ramification on these lower ones here, get them to start branching and be really a really bushy short tree. And I think that'll look pretty cool. When these trees are, you know, blocked from sunlight from established groves of other species, this is what happens. You come across a tree and it's like, okay, that looks nothing like the majority of them that I've seen before because it was given completely different growing conditions. So that's what I'm creating here. Anything that's growing into the ground or growing directly vertically, I'm just going to take out. I'll at least nip the tip on every branch. Last one here on the Thujas. This is awesome. I'm enjoying myself and I haven't even touched my river birch yet. River birch, one of my favorite trees. Right now they're brown, they're getting nice and woody, but eventually they get that nice bright white trunk, and then when the leaves come in spring, they're bright green, like yellowish green. It's perfect. It's one of my favorites of all time. So that's what I'm just recreating here. You know, these rocks, I collected some quartz rocks because 10% of Connecticut's, actually this is like more of a sandstone, but 10% of Connecticut's crust is made up of quartz. So you find a ton of it. There's quartz mines on one of my favorite trails. It's pretty cool. So that's what I want to have in this. And I want them to appear like, you know, when you're wandering through a trail and there's just a big, beautiful, you know, boulder, and you walk by and it's like, wow, you know, how did that get there? And it's just like such an amazing composition, stuff you can't even get when you're ordering the most expensive countertops. It's just only something that can occur in nature. So this rock is nice and jagged. I think it has some formica in there. It has a nice shimmer depending on which way the light hits it. This one I thought had an interesting shape, and similarly to this one, it has a more opaque, composition, but it still has that glimmer. So, and then this guy, it's pretty basic, but at the same time, it was unique because I don't see very many like this. I don't think it's a sandstone. It's not very, crumbable. So, I don't know, that's what I'm working with those. I might replace this one in the future if I find another cool one like this and go with 3 cool boulders. So, it would be a matter of picking the front, right? Because that's when you're wandering into the forest. So I think what I would want the Thujas in the front and this to be like the entrance, you know? So almost like, boom, but then that blocks that. So I'll put this along with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this moss removed. I have the good stuff inside soaking in the sink. I always teach compartmentalization for people who have very busy lives, and it's important for me to remember what I practice, what I preach, because sometimes being new to bonsai, being this is my working on my 3rd year, it's lessons learned. You learn the lesson and then you break it down, and each little step is a small process, so you break each step into a process. It doesn't get overwhelming. Here we go. Yeah, so this is going to be the entryway. I'm going to have them come in through here, meander down. It'll pass between this dominant tree back here, nice large one, and this awesome quartz stone, and then it'll kind of disappear out and behind with that other stone. That's how I'm going to do it. So the way I'll set up my moss today is it'll be everywhere but that path. And I probably won't put sand or anything like that right now. If I come upon some, like opportunistically, I will. But until then, this will just be like the next step towards the... There's never a final product, but the next step in the evolution of this planting. Okay. So why don't we take a look at the actual birch? I'm going to stop the video and start it again just in case it's getting too long. All right, so this has like some very nice growth. It's not absolutely insane to the point where it's too tall for its pod or anything like that. But let me break one of these off. Do you see this leaf? This is the work of a beetle, I believe. So I had black aphids and I had some Japanese beetles attacking at the same time. Now the black aphids I know can be very destructive, and they just replicate, and they just coat all the new growth of your trees. So I got rid of them with some End-All, this solid spray that I used, and then the beetles, as I see them, because they're larger, I'm either squishing them if possible, or at least flicking them as hard as I can, hoping that they fly away. Well, get launched away from my trees and at the same time die from the impact. I let spiders live, I let ants live, I let any productive insect live, but anything that's destructive's gotta go. Okay, so for aesthetics, I'm going to remove all the tips that have been damaged by the beetles. Like I was saying earlier, I really don't think that the beetles do much damage to the actual tree, because it's pretty much the same as you doing a defoliation. And for those of you that are new to bonsai, as it's explained to me, you defoliate the tree to get the smaller leaves to grow in, so it looks like the more miniature style. You could also defoliate and do your pruning at the same time on a strong tree to develop more branching. So it's all beneficial. I just don't want a beetle gnawing on my tree. So just going across here, pretty much nipping any tip that's outside of the pot. I'm not rushing, I know exactly what I want, so I'm just executing. Any cross branchings coming out, any leaves that have been damaged by the beetles coming out. Lots of stuff going on down here. Okay, so there's a branch coming out of the crotch here. I don't want that to develop further. It'll cause like a bulge there where the branch meets the other branch. Oh, sorry about that. Pulling out the lower leaves, developing down here, just to keep the canopy where it was. that's what I did with this the first time. The initial time, I established a canopy, and then I let these grow. And then since it's such a shallow pot, and there are so many trees, it really drinks a lot. And I got complacent, and it caught some insect issues. So it took a hard hit, but this guy has come back very strong. So if there's like, some vertical ones in the middle of two established branches growing up, like even this one, it's hugging the dominant one. You see this? Like, I'm going to take that out. The dominant one has developed how I want it. If it was unsightly or too large for, the rest of the tree, I would have kept the not dominant one. So, to each their own. One of the things I do love about the birch is most of their branches are vertical. So if you're developing a birch and you're making it all crazy and weeping and stuff like that, I don't really know of any of their species that does that naturally. So I don't know. If I saw that at a show, I'd be like, that's cool, but it's really not how they grow. And that's how I do. I don't do wiring or anything like that. I want these to look like real things that I've seen in my travels or on the day-to-day, and that's what I love. I mean, I can appreciate hard work on a bonsai, and if there was a lot of wiring done, I understand that technique is very tough, and so that's a whole different thing, but it's just not for me, so I'm not going to do it. All right, now I'm just going to do like I think what Nigel Saunders on the Bonsai Zone would call a profile prune. I'm just going to go across the top, kind of working my way up to an apex. On the dominant tree, so that would probably be this one and this one. So I'll leave those taller, so I'll come in here like this on this guy. Ooh, that's nice right there. I love that. I'm not even going to touch that. Let's see the top here. Oof. Beetles got these leaves, so I got to get rid of them. That was one of the rules, right? I'm literally copying Nigel's style on how he prunes this style. He always does the clip aggressively, and then works his hand away from the pot so the leaves don't get thrown down into the soil. So the better you develop that technique, the better you do. It saves a lot of time. Like I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay. A couple more here. This one's growing across the other one. Don't want that. I don't want it yet. How about that? I don't really have to raise the canopy much on the others. This could be a cool branch. I'll leave that. I'll leave that too. Take out some of the inner growth growing up the dominant branches. Yeah. Go. Boom, boom, boom. I think that's about it. Oh, hit you again. All right, let's reset it. All right, so here we go. I kicked over my hard cider when I got up to get the moss. I was so mad at myself. Alcohol abuse. Okay. So we're coming up through here. So let's lay a nice thick piece back here. I don't know what this is. Like I said, I don't know if it's a root. and that's something that birches do that I don't know about, or if it is, in fact, a new tree. So I'm going to leave it be. Maybe I'll take the stones out of here for now. You see, this stuff is so nice and thick. So from what I've learned, I believe you press it into the soil, try to get that contact without squishing the roots, and then you need to keep it nice and moist until it becomes a part of the planting. So that's where I think I have failed. Or, over the winter when you bring them in, that kind of just happens. So I'm even going to put it closer to the roots on the trees, even though they're beautiful and they're really flowing into the soil how I want them to be eventually. I'd like to protect them, since this thing does drink so much water, and just, something happens, you miss a day, to lose an entire forest planting from seed after a couple of years, that would be like, that one would hit me. So just working my way around the outside, because my only actual plan, well, I guess I have to leave a spot back there, but that's where my spot would be, right there. You come here, that stone there. Boom, boom. Now, yeah, like that. This way, and then put in the perfect stone. Yes. Oh yeah, that side's better. You're gonna be difficult, huh? Come in here then. Okay. That's the one, people. That's the one right there. Okay. It's coming together. If I get this all on one video, it will be a miracle. So if you have to come back for part 2, I apologize. That's my bad. Alright, so we'll leave this side open. Right now it's a little high because I trimmed down the little Thuja so much, the arborvitae. But it's so nice and lush, like this is what I want. And I might eventually do like a bush technique and trim them into bushes, but for now I just want it to be like a thick blanketed forest floor. Plus this will keep this thing hydrated a little bit longer. At least it should. Put that in there. Oh yeah, I'm digging this, people. My buddy Ian at Back Garden Bonsai, he has a whole playlist on growing moss, different mosses. All right, y'all, so that's gonna do it. Yes, I probably could have done more with the pruning, but since they're so young, it's really hot right now, I just wanted to take out those nappy leaves, some obvious cross branching, and raise the canopies. And then, take the first step towards this becoming a cool landscape. So this is how it would go. I hope the lighting's okay for it. You would be walking along your path. You come in, hit your trail, boom, boom, boom. Walking along, pass a boulder, and then exit out the back. So this would mimic a Connecticut birch tree grove with some nice American arborvitae, mimicking some low juniper bushes of some sort. I think that's fitting. And the spectacular quartz rocks and vines. So that's going to do it today for Jarhead Bonsai, y'all. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I have to prune my geranium bonsai, so that'll be coming up, and plenty more to come. As you see, everything is growing nice and healthy with these long sunny days. So I hope you're doing well, y'all. I'm Jared Paul. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell for much more to come. Take care. Good morning, flock, and the duck. So, Millie, no. So, we got a couple additions to the flock, unintentionally. The one on the left, that's Petra, and the one on the right is Carl. And Laura, Fran, and I were paddleboarding this weekend, and we got off the water, and there were a lot of like groups of families barbecuing and stuff, you know. And so we like yelled, "Hey, why are there two chickens here? You know, are these your chickens?" And so, you know, Laura's heart is bigger than my brain. So before I knew it, her and Franny had a chicken in each of their hands, and we were hopping in the Honda to drive home. So luckily we had this little coop that we use to raise these babies. So we kind of put it in the protective coop and within the outer shelter, and hopefully that's good enough for predators until we could figure out what to do with these guys. I think that they were left probably because at least one of them's a rooster, and they're like 10 weeks old, I'm judging by their size and development. So hopefully they're not both roosters, and then maybe we'll just have these two be a mating pair for fertilized eggs and hatching our own hens. If they're both roosters, I don't know, I might just let them kind of roam the yard and get the benefits of having the rooster call and all that, but I don't really want all the hens getting messed with all the time if there's two roosters. So undecided, just trying to grow them. You like that, huh, babies? So we use this organic feed out of North Carolina, I believe. And so it's organic, it's gluten-free, and it's soy-free. It's the only kind of its, you know, the only type that you can get that's like that. Because, you know, if you don't do soy and you don't do gluten in your diet, why would you want that going into your eggs, which is part of your diet? So obviously we make that extra step. What's the name of the company, Ben? Organic? New Country Organics. Yeah. It's in Virginia, and they have free shipping. So it's really, I'd say a dozen eggs costs us about $9 to produce. And yeah, that's expensive, but they're worth it. And we get a lot of enjoyment out of the flock too. So, all right, y'all.